What's going on, everybody? Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the Wave Report number 43. We got a few topics we're going to cover. I show you see the title. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about Boots and Stanionis finally getting that unification. We're also going to talk a little bit about Ryan Garcia and Rolly Romero. Seems like that's going to be the official fight on this upcoming Fatal Fury themed fight. And what else? We got Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman is making a return to the sport, hopefully, against Brock Jarvis out in Australia. And yeah, we got a few topics we're gonna go by and cover tonight. I'm not gonna be on for too long, but I want to cover these topics. If you haven't seen it already, I released the breakdown for David Benavidez against Dave Morrell. All right, I released that earlier. Okay, so check that out. That's up. I wanted to get that out of the way. I have been doing the film study for a few days, so I wanted to get that out there. I know that we're a whole week ahead of that, but that's the next big fight that's coming up. So I wanted to get that breakdown done before moving on to other breakdowns. All right. This weekend, we have Naoya Inoue making his return. It's pretty much a tune-up fight. I will do like a short video on that. Even if not tomorrow, then he's gonna be facing off Ye Jun Kim. I had to look him up because I wasn't really familiar with the guy, but this is a replacement fighter, last minute replacement since Sam Goodman is out on that cut. So I will make a video on that. Just be on the lookout for that. I know it's not a fight that anyone really cares for because it's just a replacement, but I will do a video on the fight anyway. Okay. Shout out to everyone that's here. What's up, Pocket? Yeah, I've been very, very busy. February is gonna be a crazy month in boxing. It's probably gonna be the craziest month we had in a long time. There's so many cards in boxing, like there's so many good cards from now all the way up until like even May, so the schedule is gonna be really, really busy, really, really good in boxing. So I'm trying to get ahead of everything now and get these breakdowns out of the way 1 week ahead, and I'm going to try to continue doing that. All right. Shout out to you, Pocket. What's up, Rich Franklin? Was good. MAW, what's happening? Romeo, Gio, Pepino. Shout out to everyone that's here. Please hit the thumbs up. We got 28 people in here. It's going to keep growing, but keep hitting the thumbs up. Everyone that's here, smash the like button if you can. If you can, share the video, if you got Twitter or whatever. And let's get started. All right. So I'm going to start off light. I'm going to start off with the Alberto Puello. All right. He's going to be making his return to face off against Sandor Martin, and he's going to be defending his WBC 140 title. This is a pretty good fight. This actually is on the undercard of Tank against Lamont Roach. And I know a lot of us don't really care for that fight in particular. I mean, a lot of us want to see Tank back, but we don't really care too much for that fight. But it's actually a pretty good card. You got Jose Valenzuela fighting Gary Antoine Russell, which is a good fight. I see you got J-Rock, Julian Williams on the undercard as well. But this is also a good fight. A tricky fight. I'm not completely sure where I'm going with that. I am leaning towards Alberto Puello just a little bit, but I will eventually do a breakdown. I know it's not a huge fight, but that is a tricky fight. I believe two southpaws, so that's going to be like a highly technical chess match between the two of me. Both of them are not really huge punchers, but I think a guy like Sandor Martin, who, pretty much most of us never really heard of him until he fought Mikey Garcia. And I believe that's the fight that Mikey Garcia retired from. All right. And, after that fight, and he went on to fight Tio. And I remember going to that fight. I went to that fight, and it was a tough fight for Tio. All right. He got dropped in the fight. I think he actually got dropped twice. I think they didn't count the second knockdown, but I think they could have counted that knockdown. I did go back and watch it. Um, Sandor Martin is a very good counterpuncher, but he's not a guy that really leads like that. You know what I mean? So I think when the fight goes down, I'm expecting Alberto Puello maybe being the aggressor a little bit in that fight. Um, but it's a tricky fight. 140 is packed, and I don't think anyone is really easy to beat up there. You know, all of the champions are legit up there at this point. I just hope at this point we could get some unifications. Tio may be fighting Richardson Hitchens, which is another good fight. We know that Jose Valenzuela is going to be there defending the WBA against Gary Antoine Russell. Okay, and the other champ at 140. Who's the other champ at 140? We got Tio, and I think, does Devin still have the title at 140? Does Devin have his title still? I think he still has his title, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm gonna look it up real quick. Champions. Devin's still holding his title, right? Or no? WBC, IBF. Yeah, maybe he's. I think it's vacate. I think it's the WBC. I think is vacant. Teal has a WBO. Puello has a WBC interim. Yeah, I'm confused. Richardson Hitchens has the IBF. Yeah, I'm unsure. Oh, that's right. Catterall, I'm bugging. So Puello's a champ now. Okay, my bad. Okay, it's so confusing. I'm thinking because Devin Haney never really lost, but he's not champion anymore. And I'm pretty sure he's not going to be fighting at 140 anymore. I don't expect him to. All right, but all good fights. But I'm leaning towards, before I do the breakdown and before I start doing film study for that fight, I'm leaning towards Puello. You know, Puello's coming off that tough win against Gary Antoine Russell, who's going to get another shot at a title soon. But that's going to be a tricky fight, you know, between the two southpaws, and it's going to be just like two guys that are good counterpunchers waiting to counterpunch the other guy, you know. But what I will say is Puello is definitely the bigger fighter. He's coming off of the more impressive win. Sandor Martin is like the type of guy that he goes back and fight these fights in Europe against unheard of guys in between those big fights, you know, between Mikey and then Tio and now Puello. He picks up some wins. Normally he just picks up a few wins overseas and then he gets the big shot. All right. But I will say that I think this is a better fight than Catterall and Sandor Martin. Because I think those two was gonna fight at some point. And that would have been like a boring fight, you know, because both guys they're definitely gonna wait for the other fighter to initiate. But I think Puello might make it a little bit more of a fight. I'm leaning towards him, but you can't sleep on Sandor Martin. I think he's tough for anyone. I don't think anyone is ever gonna really beat him easily, but I'm leaning towards Puello for now, you know. But I'll definitely do some field study at some point and give you a thorough breakdown. Shout out to everyone again. Shout out to everyone that's joining us. What's up, Khan Enigma? What's up, Geo? What's up, you guys? I see you all in here. What's up, Ralph? What's good? What's up, John Doe? What's good? Good to see all you guys in here tonight. All right, but yeah, again, you guys that's checking in, check out that Benavidez Morrell fight. Let me know who you guys think. Who you guys got for that fight? Morrell, you got Benavidez. That'll be the first of the month. So let me know what you guys think about that fight. All right. All right. Next topic. Let's talk about Boots. Boots and Stanionis. All right. It seems like they agreed on it. Like they're pretty much close to setting it up for April 12th, I believe. All right. Let me pull this up real quick. Boom, boom. Now, I did read on Bad Left Hook that this fight is pretty close to getting done. And this fight, we should have got this fight. You know what I mean? Like, it's been a crazy hold up. at 147 with getting unification. And Brian Norman and Boots was supposed to fight at some point, and that fight fell through. And then now we have Stanionis, who's still champion. Now this fight is supposed to go down. And you know, I think Stanionis' career has definitely taken a turn, coming off of his best win against Butayev, and becoming, I believe, the interim or the regular WBA champ or whatever he had at that time. I know that was a long time ago. This is the time when Pacquiao was still fighting, Ugas was still fighting. And I know there was a whole big mix up of who was like the legitimate champion at what's it called, at welterweight. But now we're getting a unification, and I know Boots got a lot of heat for not going up to 54 and fighting Virgil Ortiz. But since he decided to remain at 147, I'm at least happy that he's given us a fight that we wanted, because Stanionis was supposed to fight Virgil as well, but they both received like some kind of injury at some point, and that delayed. So Stanionis have been out in the ring for a long time, and he did come back and he did pick up a fight, but it just wasn't, it was just pretty much a stay busy fight. It really wasn't like the type of fight that any of us was really looking for. See, let's pull up his box rec. So Stanionis returned mid last year. He fought Gabriel Maestre, and I did check out that fight. I didn't check it out live, but I did check it out at some point. And he looked okay in the fight. He looked all right, but he had to dust off the ring rust because his last fight was against Butayev back in 2022 in April. And we're coming up on 3 years since that fight. So when this fight goes down, it will be 3 years since that fight. Now, he had one fight since then, but he's really, really rusty. It's already been almost a year since he had that tune-up fight. And he's wasting his best. He's 30 years old now, and now he has to go in there and fight Boots, which is a bit a different level than his most recent fight. And I know Jaron Ennis didn't look great in his last performance against Shukajan, which I thought was a really close fight. I think that fight was debatable. If they gave it to Boots, I was cool with them giving it to Boots, but I thought the scorecards should have been very, very close. I thought that was a very, very close fight. You know what I mean? But let me tell you something. Like, I would have to go back and look at Stanionis because it's been a minute. But I don't remember seeing Stanionis looking as impressive as Shukajan in his last fight. I think Shukajan, maybe it's because of preparation. Maybe it's because Boots didn't expect Shukajan to be the aggressor. But Shukajan looked very, very impressive in that fight. Looked really, really good. And I know Stanionis has been tough. I know he's pretty durable. He has a phenomenal jab. But Shukajan, I mean, I think Shukajan is a little bit more impressive going against Boots than what Stanionis is going to give us that night. Just my personal opinion. I know they didn't fight yet. I know styles make fights. I know Stanionis might switch it up. There's a possibility for anything when it comes to boxing. But at the end of the day, that one performance from Juk was very, very impressive because we saw him do a lot more things than we saw in the first fight. The movement, the angles, the counters, even a little bit of the power. You know what I mean? He gave Boots a lot that night. I think Stanionis is a lot more straight up and down. You know what I mean? When I think about their styles, I just think Stanionis, I don't think there's as much in his game as a Shukajan. He does have a good jab. But I think when I look at Stanionis, I think of him as being like a superior version of like a Sergey Limpin. You know what I mean? I think there's some similarities there in their style. I think he's superior to him, but I seen what Boots did to Limpin. And the thing is with Stanionis, I know he's a champion. I know he's undefeated, but he's stationary. And I don't think fighters that are really stationary like that, especially down at 47, 54 would be a different story because they're bigger guys with more power. But I think stylistically, the Stanionis fight would probably be a slightly easier fight for Boots than it was against Shukashan. This is my prediction. Obviously, I will do a breakdown at some point. I'll go back and do some film study on Stanionis and see what he could do and what he could bring to Boots. But I'm leaning towards Boots and even the possibility of a stoppage there. But Stanionis getting some. Hold on. You guys see me? You guys hear me? Am I still there? You guys see me? Just let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comments if you guys see me. I just had a little. Okay, I'm good. All right. All right. Yeah, I just had a glitch. But yeah, I got Boots. I got Boots winning for sure. But I think there's a possibility that he said John Cena. I think there's a possibility that he actually might stop Stanionis. And I'm not sleeping on Stanionis, but I think he's gonna need a little bit more than just his jab in order to beat Boots. I think he's just a little too stationary. And he kind of likes to do that phone booth type of style where he's standing right in front of you and he likes to trade. And I think that is what will play into Boots a lot more in that fight. And plus, Boots has just been active, regardless of how you feel against the David Avanesian fight. Yes, he got hit a lot. He got hit a ton against Shukajan. At the end of the day, I think the one thing I'll say about Boots going into this fight and moving forward in his career, whether it's Stanionis, whether it's Brian Norman Jr., you know what I mean? I just think moving forward that the showboating stuff is dead. You know what I mean? I think at the lower levels, it was great. But if he continues to fight like that as he continues growing in opposition, he might get exposed at some point. People already think he got exposed. I think in the sense that it was good on a lower level. It's like how Josh Kelly, or what's the name, Whitaker. Like those guys that showboat and they could keep their hands down and make people miss, toying around and stuff. I think that was cool at a certain level. I think Boots is at a period in his career now that he has to fight like he's fighting a top level. I don't think he can know. I don't think he should fight in a space as if he's just trying to please the crowd. You know what I mean? I think it's time as he's moving forward. It's not going to really be easy, even if he stays at 47. And if he gets one of these guys moving up, if he gets Devin Haney in the future, or if he gets a Teofimo Lopez in the future, I still believe any of these guys that I just named, I think there's no time to keep playing around. I think he's been exposed as far as his defense. I don't think his reflexes is as sharp as he looked in those earlier fights. I just think that there's levels. And when you start fighting these guys at this level, it's time to fight for real. You got to fight as if you need to win the fight. You got to do everything to win. Just my opinion, And as far as Karen Shukajan, I want to see what he can do against somebody else now that he performed like that. I want to see him back in the ring with someone because I do think the cards were definitely unfair And I do think he did better. I mean, again, the decision of Boots didn't make me upset. It was just more of those wide cards. I think one of those cards, one or two of those cards were a little too wide for me. I thought that was a close fight. All right. MAW says Boots needs this unification. Criticism for ducking Tio or Virgil has been a bit crazy. This unification better than either, in my opinion. Belts matter. Yeah. Jamin says Stanionis brings pressure, but he doesn't hit hard enough to break down Boots. Agreed. You guys telling me I'm good. MAW says Karen is underrated in his opinion. Boxing fanboys too quick to dismiss fighters and value zero too much. Karen is a tough task for all 147. Well, I agree with you, but the thing is, before that rematch, we was basing a lot of things off the first fight. You know what I mean? It's one thing to not know a fighter, especially like people like me that do content and make breakdowns. This is why I would never do a lazy breakdown. This is why sometimes content it comes late. I don't mind getting a prediction wrong, but what I don't want to do is just completely overlook a fighter. And I don't believe I did a breakdown for Zhukajan and Boots because I don't remember doing film study like that on Zhukajan before that fight. Now, when I look at BoxRec sometimes, yes, sometimes I look at the resume. I want to see who he lost to, how they lost to him. Let me go on YouTube. Let me see if I can find their fight somewhere. You know, it's no different from Naoya Inoue and his opponent he has coming up. I looked at his resume, you know what I mean? I looked at it first, but I was like, let me look on YouTube and see what he got. I looked on YouTube and saw what he got. There's not many fighters there, but I was like, nah, this guy is not anywhere near on a level in a way, you know what I mean? But Shukajan, when it came to that rematch, we was basing it on Shukajan doing all the running that he did in that first fight and didn't know in the rematch that he was going to blitz Boots like that and be the aggressor towards the Boots. I think none of us really expected that like that. You know what I'm saying? Because no one really came at Boots like that before. And he sure didn't in their first fight. He fought a completely opposite fight, and going into the fight, I was like, I know what Boots is probably going to work on because he couldn't cut off the ring. He really couldn't get to it in the first fight. So I'm assuming, he's probably worked on trying to cut this guy off and trying to trap him and load off on him, but it didn't work out that way, and it looked like they didn't prepare for that based on what I saw that night. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. But Stanionis, I've been watching him for a while, and I think his style, like I said before, is more straight up and down. Like I know exactly what he's going to bring because he brings like the same kind of energy in every fight, and that's not trying to dismiss him or anything. It's just that I know what he's going to bring because I've seen him fight so many times. You know what I mean? Why we sport asks me if I'm putting money on Crawford Canelo fight. I probably will at some point, but I haven't decided yet. I want to see what the odds are going to be at the very end. Like I told you guys earlier in the video I did do a video saying that I was surprised that here they open up pretty close. The odds is almost 50-50, and I wasn't expecting that. I'm still leaning towards Canelo to win a decision, though. I am. That's not my final prediction, but that's my prediction for now. At the end of the day, as much of a Bud fan that I am, I don't take picking fights and doing breakdowns and stuff personal. I don't, especially if I'm betting, I don't bet emotionally. It doesn't matter if I like you as a fighter. It doesn't matter if I want you to win. We all know who I want to win. But when it comes to picking the winner, I have to go by logic in my eyes, my logic. And again, as much of a talent that I think Crawford is, there are still weight classes for a reason, and I know everybody is trying to thoroughly break down size. Like everybody's talking about size right now. And that was a mistake people did when it came to the Errol Spence fight. For the people that picked Errol, a lot of people was basing it off off his size, and his volume and all of this stuff. And when I was breaking it down, I was bringing up all the other points, but Errol size and skill and talent is now on a level of Canelo. It's just not. And this is a different fight than Aerospace fight. This is a different fight from the Madrimov fight. You know, um, but what I will say when I finally do that breakdown, I am gonna bring up the Madrimov fight, and I'm gonna bring up points that I believe that Madrimov, like Ashukajan, did things that would give any fighter trouble. Not everything is about size. You got to look at what the fighter is doing in there. And Madrimov was very irky jerky. The amount of feinting he was doing, you know what I mean? It was just he was just doing things that would give anybody trouble. Hold on one second. Let me just turn this off. Yeah, so um when we do the breakdown, there's a lot of reasons, there's a lot of things that I see in there that I know Crawford can do. Like I know what he's capable of doing, and I know how he can possibly outbox Canelo because Canelo has flaws in his game too. And when you have so many fights, you have like what 60 fights or so, you start to see exactly how you can win. We've seen how he lost before. We've seen how he struggled in fights before. So there's things that I can see Crawford doing that could be beneficial for him in that fight. But I also look at what Canelo can do, and Canelo can hit hard. If you're dropping, and I know he hasn't knocked out anyone in a while, but when you're dropping and you're knocking out guys that are much bigger than you know what I mean? You gotta put that all in perspective. Plus, how would Crawford had fared off against all those guys that Canelo had beat at 168? How would he have fared off? Do I think Crawford is better than Plant? uh Munguia and all of these guys, Callum Smith, Billy Joe Saunders, and you know what I mean, Edgar Berlanga. Do I think he's more skilled than them? Yeah. But how would his record look if he went through those guys, if he fought all of those guys each? Would he have looked impressive the way that Canelo looked impressive against them? You got to put that all into account. This is a one fight deal. Him going up to 168 is one fight. Canelo has proven as a smaller fighter what he can do against all of these guys at 168. And I'm just giving you a little bit like of a early pre-breakdown thing. I wasn't expecting to talk about this tonight, but since he asked, if you put Canelo in there, I was just doing field study on Benavides, right? I personally always felt that Benavides would beat Canelo. And as the fights continue, I still believe that. I stand by that. But I can't watch. I'm watching Benavides fight Andrade and Plant and Volstick at 175. I could never imagine Crawford fighting Benavides. That's crazy. Just think about Benavides at 168 or 175 fighting Crawford. That's a mismatch. It's a mismatch. The only reason why Canelo is not a mismatch is because he's not even really truly a real 168 guy. But he's looked impressive against those guys. But just imagine like Crawford fighting all of those guys. I know Berlanga going into the Canelo fight, like I know a lot of us was like he was a super underdog. Like Canelo was a big favorite against Berlanga. But you see how big Berlanga is when he was in there with Canelo? You know what I mean? Those guys are hard to knock out. So you got to look at it. It's not about personal feelings and how you want the fight to play out. It's about like logic. Like, yo, I think I think we're at a point now where people are sleeping on Canelo. And as good as Crawford is, I think people are sleeping on Canelo. You know what I mean? Jamel Charlo is just a sample of a smaller guy going up there he said himself, like, I wasn't, he felt his power. I wasn't trying to get knocked out. Now, I don't think Crawford's going to take the same approach, but, and I think the fight is going to be way more competitive than that fight was. But Crawford has to be extremely careful. And Crawford is not Mayweather. He's not Mayweather. You know what I mean? On a defensive level, he's not Mayweather. Offensively, he's phenomenal. But on defensively, he's good, but it's going to be tough to avoid everything, you know? So this is my opinion on that. We'll get back to it. I'll make more videos on that. We got a lot of time. I got a lot of time. I got a lot of time to talk about that fight more and more. All right. But let's move on with the topics of the night. I don't want to lose track. Keith Thurman. He's gonna be fighting Brock Jarvis. He's making his return to face off against Brock Jarvis. I think they have a May return. I had it up a minute ago. Hold on. Let me bring it back real quick. Let me bring it back because I want to just make sure I believe it's April. I think they're looking at April to make that fight. And I believe it is in out in Australia. Hold on, let me pull it up. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Not even. It's March. It's March 12th. All right. So, you know, I Keith is my guy, man. I love Keith Thurman, man. Keith Thurman at one point was one of my favorite fighters for a minute. I spoke highly of Keith Thurman for a long time. He gave me some fun moments, man. It was some fun moments. He's fun to watch. He gave us phenomenal interviews. I thought he was a good commentator. Keith Thurman, outside of fighting, has given. If you put a microphone in front of Keith Thurman when he's not playing around and is talking trash about his opponent, he's a very knowledgeable boxing guy. I think he gives us some of those. When he used to give us interviews, they used to always get a mega amount of views because he does respect the sport and he has a lot of knowledge about the sport. And I know everybody's having podcasts now. I would love for Keith Thurman to get into that bag, So anyone that knows him that's watching this, let him know that I feel at some point, if he's not going to fully get involved and committed into the commentary thing, he's done it sometimes, but he should start some podcasts because he's great when it comes to speaking about his knowledge of the sport. And I think I would love to hear that. And plus, his stories and his cockiness is fun. Now, Keith Thurman's career, I mean, it could have been so much better. Played with injuries, too many injuries, too many delays, pulling them up here. And there's no need to do any breakdowns or anything like that, for this fight. Because depending on how past it he is, she should be winning this fight. I've seen Brock Jarvis fight before, and I will go and look a little bit more. I think at one point I did see the fight with Liam Parle. I was doing film study on Liam Parle, and I came across the Brock Jarvis fight, and Liam Parle stopped him in one round. Okay. I get it. Keith needs a tune-up. But you know what? I seriously thought that after he had beat Mario Barrios and what he was saying at that time, first of all, he was in phenomenal shape against Mario Barrios, right? He was a phenomenal. I said Liam. I meant Liam KO'd Brock. My bad. That's what I meant. He was in phenomenal shape, and he was saying like, "Yo, I'm back." And I thought at this time this was his last good run. I said I felt like at that time when he beat Barrios that he had enough time left to get a few fights left, including a big fight, whether it was with Crawford, whether it was with Errol Spence Jr., whether it was with Ugas or whoever at that time. I felt like Keith Thurman at that time had enough time to at least get one last run. So we know he was former unified champion, right? He beat Danny. He went 2 years, right? And this is not the only injury, because remember, he got injury before when he was fighting Sean Porter. All right, that fight was rescheduled, but it was a great fight, and it was actually one of the best fights that year. But Danny Garcia, 2017, boom, 2 years, beats Danny, fights Josecito Lopez, basically tune up before Manny Pacquiao. What happened? Josecito Lopez had a moment, hurt him to the body, and we know that Keith Thurman, once he gets hit to the body, it's almost over. It's almost over. Louis Collazo taught us that, right? Louis Collazo taught us that. Had Thurman running. Thurman, you know the problem I think? You think the one thing I can't stand about Keith Thurman, and when he fights, he don't know how to tie up. He does not know how to tie up. He gets hit to the body, he's gonna run. That's why they was calling him Keith Runtime Thurman. He does not know how to tie up. What is his problem? He hits with a good shot, and he does not want you to know that he's hurt. If you don't tie up, it looks worse. Right? Like when you tie up at times, you can at least kind of mask when you get hurt with a good shot. And plus, you can stop the momentum of your opponent. When you just run, it looks worse. You know what I mean? And plus, if a guy has quick enough feet to keep up with you, you're going to keep getting hit. And that's what happened with Collazo, Josecito Lopez, Manny Pacquiao hurt him to the body. Mario Barrios hurt him to the body. It's like crazy. You know what I mean? Going back to the thing, he lost to Pacquiao. I took nearly 3 years off, came back and fought Mario Barrios. And guess what? It's been already another 3 years. Damn. So since 2017, he's had 1, 2, 3, 4 fights in 8 years. 8 years. 2017, he fought Danny, and he's only had 3 fights then. And coming in back to fight this guy, it's hard to get excited, because chances are he gets hurt, injured again. Last year he was supposed to fight Tim Tszyu, and he got injury then. And chances are he gets hurt either before or after this fight. I don't want to say I'm glad to see him back yet, because I've been glad and I've been waiting for him. But I think his time has passed at this point. And I think even if he knocks this guy out or whatever, I mean, what do? You can't fight the top guys at 54. What are you gonna do? You know what I mean? What are you gonna do? I think the fight needs to be at 54. I mean, making 47. I mean, maybe he could. I mean, he would be very small at 54. I don't know if he can make 47 anymore, but I know this is kind of corny, but maybe that Errol Spence fight can happen. Most people think they're both done, and it's way too late. And I know Errol had no interest at any point to fight this guy because Keith feels a way about it. He feels like Keith Thurman ducked him for years. But if they have nothing else to make, and Errol, I don't really know what Errol's doing right now. Now that he's not fighting Sebastian Fundora, you'll never know. You know, but Keith Thurman, if he can stay healthy, I mean, I said before the last time this was his last run when he beat Barrios. Now this is really, really like his last run. Like he ran out of time. He got to make something happen right now because there's no time left. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's that. All right. Um, all right. Let me go back to X. So Turkey Al Sheik. Where are we at? Where are we at? How do we use this thing? Let me go to Ring Magazine. Turkey Al Sheik has officially announced this Fatal Fury card that's supposed to be coming up soon. Okay. Officially, Ryan Garcia is supposed to be fighting Rolly Romero. Now, in the last 2 weeks, we heard, and I'm talking about since the awards, we heard Ryan and Haney was gonna fight. We heard Ryan Tiafimo, and he said it after his own mouth. Yes, please smash the like button. We heard Ryan and Tiafimo was gonna fight. Then we heard Ryan Garcia was gonna fight Ishak, who's got a fight coming up. And then now we're hearing Ryan Garcia. Well, it's official that Ryan Garcia and Rolly Romero is gonna fight each other. Listen, I know I'm gonna come off as a hater, but I really don't care. All right, I really don't care. And this is what the card is right now: Ryan Garcia against Rolly, Devin Haney against Jose Ramirez, and Martin Bacoli against F.A. Jaba. This card seems like it's just a build up towards different fights. This is not like, I don't think this card is the quality card that they've been putting out. It's not a bad card. It's just like these are tune-up fights, in my opinion, for all three guys. Okay, I think Ryan and Rolly is a complete. The best fight in that fight is the trash talk, and they do it at a press conference. That's it. Devin Haney against Jose Ramirez, not a bad fight. It's definitely a good comeback fight, but this is to get back in the ring. I wouldn't call it a tune, but it's just you getting back in there type of fight. You know what I mean? And Martin Bacoli against F.A. Jaba, it's same. F.A. has one good punch. But Martin Bacoli is expected to destroy F.A. Jaba. The only thing I will say about that fight, and I will do a video on that, but I've been giving it some thought. One thing about Martin Bacoli, and I know he's like running through guys and he's looking like, oh, G80, thank you. Thank you for the donation, man. Appreciate that. All right, appreciate that. Nice M4 too, by the way. I'm assuming that's your car because that's G80 is a M3 or M4 or whatever. Nice car. The only thing with F.A. Jaba, or the only weakness is with Martin Bacoli, is sometimes he tanks punches. You get what I'm saying? Sometimes you can throw a combination, this guy's not going to move. So even though I'm not expecting much from F.A., I do believe that F.A. has one big right hand. And if Bacoli sleeps on him and expect to just tank, I know he's 300 pounds. I know he's a big guy. I don't think he should take the fight lightly. I'm not expecting him to lose, but I also I don't think he should take the fight lightly. You get what I'm saying? You still fighting a guy that has a puncher's chance. It's just that he's limited as a puncher. He has one big right hand, nothing else. There's nothing else really there that F.A. offers but that one big right hand. You know what I mean? He's like a watered down Wilder. You know what I mean? You still gotta, just can't just be walking through shit with him. But let me go back to this Rolly thing. You call me a hater, I don't care. Let me pull up Rolly's box rec. This guy has never impressed me. I don't know how this guy is literally one of the most privileged fighters out there. Seriously, no lie. No matter what this guy do, he will always get another fight. For what? He's one of the most privileged fighters out there. He has not proven a goddamn thing. Yet he will still get opportunities like this. Just because they expect him to sell the card. It's like he's not good, but they want him to win so bad because they believe they could sell a fight with him. You know what I mean? Like, bro, he didn't beat Jackson Marinas. He got a gift in that fight. He gets knocked out by Tank, right? He gets knocked out like by Tank. People get knocked out, take losses, whatever. But you lose the Tank and you get a WBA title shot in the division up. And then on top of that, you get a gift knockout win in a fight that you were losing on the card. He was clearly losing that fight against Ismael Barroso. So you get a gift win. You get knocked out by Tank. You get a gift knockout win. You get knocked out by Isaac Cruz. You fight a journeyman after that. And now you get to fight Ryan Garcia. What are we doing? What are we doing? You know, at 135 and 140, you got so many legitimate like fighters there. Yet this guy just keeps getting the opportunity. Based on what? Based on what? And I know Ryan. I'm listen. I told you when it was Cruz, and I didn't think Cruz was an easy fight. I thought that was a very risky fight. When they said it was Cruz, when it said it was Tiafimo, I was like, they're gonna put him in there with these two guys before going into a Devin Haney rematch. I don't know. You know, I don't think that's really safe. But Rolly is a legitimate like journeyman to me. You know what I mean? I just really believe that Rolly is just good at trash talking. You know what I mean? I don't understand why this guy just keeps getting these opportunities. Rolly to me is no different from influencer boxing. Rolly Romero is like Jake Paul. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he's any better than Jake Paul. Like, I really just don't believe. I've never seen a fight of Rolly and said his first 3 rounds against Tank was the most impressive he's ever looked in a fight to me. His first 3 rounds against Tank. And that's it. And he still got knocked out. You know, so I listen, Ryan can go and do what he wants to do. I really don't care. But I'm just shocked that Rolly got on this. But if they're just looking for a tune-up, which is what I believe he is, I think this is a lower level fight for anybody that's a top contender or champion at 140 or 147. You know, I mean, Rolly is really not good. But I get it. They want to sell the fight. Ryan's going to talk. Rolly's going to talk. Just think of all of them at the press conference. You're going to have Devin there. You're going to have Rolly there. And you're going to have Ryan there. Rolly has been talking trash about Devin Haney for a while, so they're going to exchange words. Ryan and Devin's going to exchange words. Ryan and Rolly's going to exchange words. So I get it. It's going to be a fight where people are going to just talk trash. But this is a messy card. Like this card, like let's get this out of the way so we can get to the real ones. This is what the card is. This card is just just to spice things up, leading to the real meaningful fights, in my opinion. That's the way I look at it. All right. Um, it is what it is. All right. So that's my thoughts on that. And what's the last topic? What's the last topic? I think was that the last topic? I talked about Keith Thurman already. I talked about boots. Oh snap. That was the last topic. Shit, my bad. Damn, that was quick. Let me read what you guys are saying in the comments. Ralph says Turkey is spicing things up. Is that is that what we gonna call it? Like, look, I'm a realist. I don't I didn't expect every card to be this magical card, you know, because he's had cards already where it was a bunch of names on a card, but none of them were really fighting each other. You know what I mean? It was just more a bunch of fights that was going to prep for the bigger fights. And being that there's layoffs with these two fighters, you know, I get it. But this card here is just like a regular card, you know what I mean? With a bunch of big names. You know what I'm saying? So that's just the way I look at that. FA Jog against Piccoli. I just broke that down a little bit, you know. I'm expecting Piccoli to knock him out. But I think Piccoli has to still fight this fight very with caution because FA has monstrous power in that right hand. And I've seen him tank punches before. He can't fight like that in this fight. He can't. Okay. Jose Ramirez is great in the role. Yeah, absolutely. 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 At any point. And he's not, he's past it. But it's I wouldn't even compare. I wouldn't even compare. Apollo says, I would have rather had Regis versus Bryant. Absolutely. Absolutely. As far as a matchup, absolutely. You know, and I know Regis, but Regis, I do like the fight with Regis and Duarte. You know, I made a video on that fight. Thank you, Kenneth. Appreciate the support. Yeah, Rolly's fighting on Riyadh season. Absolutely, yeah. Apollo, Golden Boy versus Hearn is coming up. But I don't think we're gonna get that until like Mayish. All right, but that fight is on that's coming up. That's coming up. They already confirmed that they're gonna have that fight card. All right. You said it should have been fighting Arnold Barbosa. Barbosa is gonna be fighting for a title shot against Jack Catterall. So he's already got a match coming up. All right. He said you would have liked Ryo against Ryan. Well, Ryo's gonna be fighting Gary Russell, Antoine Russell, which is another fight. Desmond, this is the thing. Desmond asked me, do I see Ryan becoming world champ? I do think he is capable of being a champion. The thing is, it depends on who's holding the title, the timing of it all. No matter what, Ryan and the fights that they take with him, they're very calculated with the matchmaking. You know what I mean? So I don't see Ryan chasing people. I do think he has the talent to beat a champion and become one. But I think they're very calculated with his opponents. Okay. It has to really be worth it. You know what I mean? He's just not going to be hunting down people that stylistically is not, you know, is a little dangerous unless the risk is worth the reward. Like Devin, big fight. Tank was even bigger fight. Those are big fights. You know, anything in between that, I think the quality of the opponents are going to be lower every single time. So those fights in between, those big fights like that, like I think he would fight Teofimo Lopez, but it's the buildup, it's the fights in between to get to that point. You know what I mean? He fought Tank, he fought Devin, he cheated in that fight, but he fought him. At the end of the day, Ryan will fight some of these people that's at the top, but A lot of the stuff is based on timing and also having other fights in between. He's not going to go from really one really tough fight to the next. That's not how Golden Boy operate with their fighters. You know what I mean? Yeah. See, Punch quotes has said he can beat Mario for his belt. Those are the kind of fights I would expect Ryan to fight. Because right now, Mario Barrios looks like food. You get what I'm saying? Like Mario Barrios, and one thing about Barrios, he's good, but he takes a lot of damage in his fights. You know, I said that before. Like he gets busted up pretty bad in his fights. So that's a fight that I can see. That's a realistic fight. You know, that's if he. But I don't think Ryan cares like that for the belt thing. I think he cares more about the money and the fame. I don't think he really cares of like championship and unification and all that shit. You know, technically, he still hasn't won a title because he's not even making the weight at 140. You know what I mean? He didn't fight Devin at 140. He came in overweight. Yeah. All right, guys, I'm gonna get on out of here, man. It was just a quick live. Appreciate you guys for supporting and joining in. It's kind of late, but please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Please hit the thumb up on your way out, and I'll see you guys tomorrow, man. Y'all have a good week. Have a good night. Peace.